Hey everyone, this is my 1974 CB360. This has been a project bike for me for quite a while. I bought this one, my uncle bought two, a 75 that he wanted to restore for himself, and this 74 that he intended to use for parts. I ended up fixing his 75 without him needing any parts off of this bike. So I bought it from him for a couple of $100 and decided to do this as a cafe project. And I've worked on it off and on over the years, but I thought I'd let you guys get a good look at it, and we'll go for a ride here in a minute, and then we'll be back to discuss some of the kind of trials and tribulations it's put me through. Catch you in a bit. I'm out for a ride this afternoon on my CB360 that I did a carburetor sync for a couple of weeks ago. And I just thought I'd get out and see how she was going to behave and act. And so far, everything seems to be good. But I wanted to bring you guys along for the ride and give you an idea of how it was going. This has been a very long-term project bike for me. And it's kind of what I work on when I'm just not busy or bored and not working on something else. But she seems to be pulling good and running well. These are fun little motorcycles, especially considering that you are talking about 1950s or 1970s technology, excuse me. They weren't super powerful, but I do like them for riding around town and running errands and things of that nature. Let me get turned around here. And I love the sheer mechanicalness of these machines. The fact that you can fix everything basically with a wrench, a hammer, and a little bit of luck. You certainly don't have the easy life that we get nowadays with much more modern machines. But it is nice if you like to work with your hands to be able to sit down and easily set valves, easily adjust timing. The wiring is so absolutely caveman simple that it makes really a great relaxation from the modern machines where you're pulling apart piles of wire and you've got 30, 40 wires in a bundle that you're trying to find which one is not working and why. Where with something like this, you probably have, I don't know, 20 wires in the entire machine. I'm going to head on back to the shop here and we'll discuss it a little bit more when I don't have quite so many snail cages to look out for. See you guys in a minute. Hey everybody, we're back at the shop and I wanted to walk you through some of the things that I have done to this CB360 over the years. When I first got this, one thing that I will always remember, this front tire was so rusted through on the rim, you could actually stick your finger through the top of the rim and touch the inner tube in it. So obviously that got replaced. I ordered a new rim, had to get that in from China, and I think it took 3 months for that to arrive. I've replaced these tires with a set of Kendas. I honed out the cylinders, replaced the piston rings as it had low compression. I've ported and polished the head, as well as putting in fresh valves, valve train, seals. Almost all the seals on this engine have been changed, especially on the top end. It has a Rix regulator rectifier in it now to make it a little more reliable for the charging system. I've changed out the front turn signals, rear turns, and rear brake light is all LED now. One of these days I'm going to get around doing the headlight. I've also ordered the LED bulbs for the gauge cluster. Those should be in here at some point to get swapped over. I took the frame completely down, stripped everything, repainted it with an Iwata airbrush, Wicked colors, and 2K clear coated everything. Frame, sides, tank, obviously. Changed the handlebars down to a set of Clubman bars. And I have another seat for this. I don't put it on there just because this seat, for whatever reason, is Amelia's favorite scratching post. And no matter what I've done over the years, I simply cannot get her to stop tearing at that seat. I think that's everything that I've done to this as far as straightening it out to, rebuilt the carburetors naturally. But I believe that's everything as far as changes, alterations, repairs, things of that nature. Now, being that in the title of this video is the word lament, you knew there had to be some complaints and some hassles and aggravations involved. So let's go ahead and get into some of those. This motorcycle, and I'm sure most mechanics have these kind of stories. If you are a mechanic, please reach out in the comments. Let me know, because it'd be nice to know that these sort of things don't only happen to me. And normally these stories are fairly humorous. But anyway, we'll get back to the point. We'll go back about a month. The bracket that secures the idle speed screw on the bottom of the carburetor broke. And since that bracket by itself is purely on obtainium, shortly thereafter the screw broke, and I went through my parts pile and found a screw from my old XL250R carburetors. I harvested that, put that on there, and I could not get it to stay in place and lock down. I tried double nuts, I tried various spring combinations. Every time I tried to ride this thing, the screw would back out and lose its idle. So what I finally ended up doing was JB welding a nut to the carburetor body. And once I did that, I set the bike away for about a month, which has always kind of been the habit with this bike. I'll fix something, it'll go away for a month while I work on other bikes and other projects and things like that. Pulled it back out about a month later, checked my repair worked, which it had, and warmed it up and did the carburetor sync video that hopefully you guys caught. If not, it is out there on the web for you to go back and see. When I finished up that video, I decided that I would go ahead and get gas in it in the morning. So the next morning, I come out, started the motorcycle up, and it was being a real bear to start. Couldn't quite figure out why. And as I got looking, the spark plug wire had fell during the video at some point, landed on the exhaust pipes, and burned itself about halfway through. So I got going through the spare parts pile and found another spark plug wire off of an old coil, put that on, rerouted it so that it couldn't happen again. started the bike up, ran it to the gas station, which is about 3 blocks from my house. The second I went to pulled in on the clutch, and the clutch popped. You guys definitely know clutch pop if you're looking at 360 videos. So I walked back to the house, got the tools to fix it, walked back up to the store, straightened the clutch out, put gas in it, rode it the 3 blocks back to the house, and as I was pulling back into the house, pulled the clutch and the clutch popped again. Reached up to get the front brake to stop, and the front brake locked up and tried to throw me in the floor. So I pushed the bike back up to the garage, took the side panel off, repacked all of the bearing surfaces in the clutch, readjusted the clutch and got it right, and decided I would go ahead and try to check to see how it was running after the carburetor sink. I just took it down the little road by my house, which is a very short road. I didn't want to go far, as it had obviously already stranded me once that morning. Got to the end of the road without any real drama, turned around. On the way back, I felt something wet on my leg. Stopped, looked, couldn't find anything. Hadn't been raining, there were no puddles, but drove up to the opposite end of the road, turned around. As I was coming back, I noticed the engine started to sputter. So as I turned around to come back to the garage, I felt something wet on my leg again. I looked back under the bike, and the brass nipple from the petcock had come loose. The hose was swinging wildly, throwing gasoline all over me, all over the motorcycle. And I guess in its final attempt to stop me bothering it, it thought the right way to go about that would be to attempt to set me on fire. So I turned off the gas, turned off the machine, brought it back up here to the shop, coated the brass nipple with some Honda Bond 4 being fuel resistant, pressed it back in and staked it, and got a new petcock on order to fix that. Once that came in, I got that swapped out, and that brings us up to present, where you guys were out with me for the ride to come back here. I'm going to pause this video a moment just so that I can show you guys what I was on about earlier when we were riding about the wiring diagrams on this versus a modern motorcycle. We'll be back here in just a second. Okay guys, here we have the wiring diagram for the CB360. This covers all of the systems on the motorcycle. Underneath this, we have the wiring diagram from the 1990 Honda Goldwing. This is just the wiring diagram for the radio. There are 21 pages of this total. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an idea as to what I was talking about. We'll go on back to the motorcycle. I'm going to add in some photos of the before when I got the bike and some of the stages of where it got to where it is now. I'll see you all back in a moment. Okay, now that all the complaints are out of the way, let me tell you what I like about this motorcycle. This machine is so light and quick and flicky that running through city traffic on this to do errands is an absolute joy. And because of the vintage age and things like that, it's got so much more personality. You may grab a handful of brake and you never know if it's going to do what you don't want it to do and lock up the front brake and try to kill you, or if the brake is going to do nearly nothing at all and you'll come to the slowest stop you've ever been to in your life, and you would probably be better off using your sneakers. But that adds so much to the excitement and the drama of these things that you just cannot get from a modern motorcycle that just works every single time. The modern bikes are wonderful. You crawl up on one, you hit a button, you can go for 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 miles without thinking about anything other than needing an oil change. But they simply lack the personality of these old vintage machines. And with that being said, let me tell you why I absolutely love this motorcycle. This motorcycle does something for me that none of the others in my stable can do. It makes me stop and think and reflect about the guys that had this as modern tech. What they went through, how much they love this sport and love this lifestyle, that they were going to jump on these machines knowing full well they weren't super reliable, and if you went to the store for a pack of cigarettes or a gallon of milk, you might come out, it might start and take you home, or it might make you sit down in the parking lot and wrench on the thing and set your timing with a matchbook cover before it took you home. Yet, with all the headaches, the heartaches, they still chose to ride. They still chose to get on these every day and live their lives and feel the wind in their hair and be happy. And there's really something absolutely epic about that. And I respect the hell out of those old guys. My hats are off to them, because the old bikes in that day, it didn't matter if it was a Honda or it was a Harley or it was an Indian. They all had pretty much the same tech. They pretty much all had the same wiring in them, which was dodgy at best. These bikes made you earn every mile. Nothing was free. And a breakdown most of the time was very inconvenient because you didn't get to just push a button. You had to kick your butt off on these Kickstarters to get them fired back up. So those guys were absolute badasses. And this bike makes me think of those guys and give reverence and respect to them every single time I see it and ride it. If you guys enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll like and subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for helping me get the channel off the ground. And I will catch you guys in the next one. I hope you have a great day.